All right, awesome. Let's see if we are actually live. Because I know I'm live on Twitch right now. Because I've done Twitch for a while, and Twitch is dope. But I wanna, live. It looks like it's working. Haha, it is. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna keep this little thing. Hey, Brian. That's so great. Mute that. I'm live on Twitch right now. Because I've done Twitch for a while, and Twitch is dope. But I wanna, Okay, here, I have an idea. It looks like it's working. Haha, it is. Okay, awesome. Okay, I can hear myself. There we go. Okay, cool. So, now I can't hear anything. Everything's good. Yeah, great, awesome. Live is working on both things. This is so great. This is awesome. Hi, Blitz. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we are live on Twitch and on LinkedIn. Very, very excited. My first time going live on LinkedIn. This is great. What we're going to be talking about today, this is very fun. This is very, very fun, is customer discovery. So pretty basic, but I want to go over like the nuances when it comes to like actual customer discovery, like actually doing. Yeah. I could hear myself in the feedback too. I just fixed it. Thank you, Brian. But we're going to be going over customer discovery when it comes to investigating a new idea, when it comes to talking to potential customers and seeing if you can sell a product to them, right? Let me make sure, let me just double check, because I want to share the link to my followers, because I have a little stream chat. So let me see if I can find what's going on there. Yes, live here. This is the URL. And then I'm going to post this in my little stream chat over here, and then we will get heckin' started, my dudes. That's the link to the live stream on LinkedIn. Yay! Awesomeness. This is so cool. I'm so glad this is working out. So, let's get right into it. Gosh dang it. So, it's cool. We have three viewers on Twitch, and we have, I think, what we got? We got like 17, 18 people on LinkedIn. This is awesome. Okay, cool. So, customer discovery. This is how it works. Basically, when you're creating a startup, there's a lot of huge misconceptions about just kind of. Also, actually, quickly to go over this. You can kind of see, you should be able to see down here in the left corner, other people commenting for people on Twitch, because there's kind of a back and forth, because people on people on Twitch can see Twitch comments. You as LinkedIn people can't see Twitch comments, so if anything happens, I'll make that relay up. But yes, to Blitz just asked, am I starting something regular? This is a regular thing that I do. I'm going to start doing it more regularly on LinkedIn, and basically it's just kind of, we try to build little mini businesses on live stream, right? To teach entrepreneurship, because there's a lot of really huge misconceptions about entrepreneurship. There's a lot of weirdness about how it actually functions, and a lot of people think it's just like, oh, you have a brilliant startup idea, or oh, you go get a coder and you tell them to build a product for you. There's a lot of crap in the industry, and there's not really proper education around entrepreneurship in general, even when it comes to universities. And it's yeah, Dave, gamer entrepreneurs, I know. But there's a lot of misconceptions, and I'm just trying to here to kind of break that down, because I have started little mini businesses. I have done little things. I haven't run a big fancy startup, but I have like interacted with a lot of entrepreneurial education, and so hopefully I can help you learn kind of stuff about how entrepreneurship functions. And we basically try to build little mini businesses right here, and this is the general starting process to starting to build a business. So, and I've done a couple of other little businesses. I'm actually almost finished building an internship platform that I built on Livestream, and I talked about how I was going to build it. I'm almost finished with that. It's for Pittsburgh startups. A lot of cool things are happening here. So if you want me to build a cool product, or you want me to build want me to go do investigation into a cool company, who's ever, I think it's Brian jamming a bunch of the emotes, and I love you. But if you want me to build anything like that, or you want to understand how a certain piece of business works, hop on a live stream. I try to do these every weekend, usually Saturdays, 6:30 to 8 p.m., and we talk about it because I have a lot of exposure to entrepreneurship because I know a lot of startup founders in Pittsburgh. So anyway, without further ado, let's get heckin' started. The way customer discovery works is it doesn't function like most people expect. So when you go into starting a company, right? When you want to start a company, everybody always starts with the idea, right? You start with a broad idea about like this is like Uber for dogs, right? Like you have some big fancy startup idea, and you think that's the reason that you're going to make a really cool company. It has nothing to do with the idea. And most often when you come up with an idea, it doesn't mean jack, honestly. And that's why I have my little series called Startup Ideas Suck, because startup ideas in general do suck. That's not where value comes from. It's not from some little thing that you come up with kind of when you're hanging out with your friends. And you shouldn't keep your startup ideas to yourself. You should talk to everybody about them, because you're going to get positive feedback, and the important thing in building a business is not the idea, it's the implementation. So that's why I give away all my startup ideas. That's why whenever I think I have a valid business idea, I post it on LinkedIn under hashtag startup ideas suck, because I don't care. I don't think anybody's going to steal them. If somebody's going to try to steal them, then great. Like, that validates the business model, and I'm going to go and I'm going to do it better. Like, it's not. I've never ever heard. I've heard like once in one scenario, and I don't even think it came to fruition, where somebody actually stole an idea from some other entrepreneur, and it just doesn't really happen. So never worry about somebody stealing your idea. Never worry about anything like that. Just focus on building something with real value, and the way you do that is through customer discovery. So customer discovery is essentially where, like, I would start with no idea. Ideally, when you're going into entrepreneurship, you want to start with no idea. You don't want to assume you know what the customer wants. You don't want to assume you can create some awesome product that people are going to buy, because you probably don't know. Even if you're the ideal customer, you don't know what 100 other people are thinking out there. Like, there's no way to know besides talking to them. So you have to go out and you have to talk to potential customers that you would sell your idea to, right? Exactly. Ideas are cheap. Benjamin just said ideas are cheap. Ideas are extremely cheap. That's why I post them everywhere. Like, if you have cool startup ideas, I'm actually going to suggest that people send them to me, because I would love to post about them. I would love to get conversation rolling around them, because we end up educating ourselves by talking about what might fail, what might go on. Startup ideas mean nothing. And the only ideas that are actually relevant are ones that have customer discovery behind them. So let's say, I'll give you an example. One of my friends in town, a really prolific entrepreneur. He's really, really cool. His name is David Cristello. He lives in Pittsburgh. He runs a company called Jetpack Workflow. And Jetpack Workflow makes workflow software for accountants, and just to manage their workflow. And that's been going really, really well so far, but he came to that conclusion through customer discovery. He has a friend that basically made I think $10,000 a month business, because he did basic customer discovery in a really, really little field. And basically what he did was he went and talked to 50 dry cleaners, 50 dry cleaning businesses. And he asked them about their revenues, about their costs, about the current tools that they're using, about how their business works, and learned everything that he could about dry cleaners. He didn't really find anything there. Nobody was dealing with really significant problems, so he stopped. Then he went to, what was it? It was, I think, dentists. And he talked to 30 dentists. And all of the dentists didn't really have any problems. And he also had a lot of trouble actually getting in touch with the dentists. So he gave up on dentists. And then he went and he talked to these LASIK businesses. So you know LASIK. LASIK is the little eye surgery, right? Where it goes in, they put a little laser in your eye, and it fixes your cornea or whatever it is, so you don't have to wear glasses, you don't have to wear contacts. And he went and he talked to a bunch of these different little LASIK businesses, because it's not under one big LASIK umbrella. It's just a bunch of different little businesses, a bunch of different little boutique shops that leverage that technology to help people, right? They get certified in it or whatever it is, and they work with them. So that's all well and fine. He talked to I think 30 of them, and he started to hear everybody was dealing with problems marketing. They all had issues when it came to their email lists. So they had these large email lists of potential customers that would go in, or they would see them online, or they would just hear about them, and they would go to their website and they would sign up via their email. And people would just sit on the email list, and they tried sending out like messages. They tried like bugging them like, hey, we have a sale this week. They tried all sorts of cool marketing techniques, and it didn't really work for their email lists. And so they had a lot of problems. They had like 500 people on these email lists. Each of these little boutique shops, they all had these big email lists, and they couldn't leverage them at all. They didn't know what to do. So what he did, what this entrepreneur did, is because he figured out through customer discovery, he learned all these different business processes within these LASIK businesses, and he just kept asking them different questions. And he learned, so let me see if I can make this bigger. Can I lift this up? Oh, hold on. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. That's good. He learned all these different business processes in these LASIK businesses, and he figured out that they all have problems with these email lists. So he went home, and in like a weekend or a week, he designed a little email course. It was one email every day for like 7 days, and it talked about the statistics behind LASIK and how safe it is. It talked about testimonials from people that had gone through LASIK, and it told them like how awesome it was and how they don't have to wear glasses anymore and how much money it saved them in the long term. It talked about like how many people do it per year and how cost effective it is and how much money they would be saving in the long term. I don't think it's a yesterday idea. Like email marketing is still extremely. Blitz just said email lists is a yesterday idea. I try to avoid it for obvious reasons. Email marketing generally is a little bit behind the times for sure, but this is a great example. This happened like a couple of years ago. This isn't, and it's still applicable today. But anyway, he built an email course that just described all of the awesome benefits of LASIK, and he educated the customers on these email lists about how awesome the surgery can be for them, how much it can help them, and he tested that with a couple of different LASIK businesses, and he ended up getting like 10% of their email lists to convert to paying customers, whereas the LASIK businesses themselves could not do that at all. They had no idea how that functioned. Exactly, yeah, great marketed real info. Like that was real information. He taught people how it worked, and it ended up just being incredible for them. And they made like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars off of it because they were able to convert so highly off of this little email course. And they had the email list, it was fine. He just needed to sell this email course. And so because he tested it in a couple different LASIK businesses, they profited like $5,000 off of just this little email course because he was able to educate the customers. And so he was able to sell an email course that he made in like a weekend for, I think it was like $2,000 a pop. He would just sell it to them, and they would send it out, and they would make money. And they would make more money than they spent on it. And he had great people like recommending like, hey, like this helped. He had great testimonials on his email course, but he's able to sell something that he made in a weekend for $2,000 a pop, just because he did proper customer discovery in certain businesses. And so I want to go over how that functions today, right here, like just generally how like you go about asking those kinds of questions and learning about that, right? If you're going to give me 2 seconds, I'm going to be talking for an hour and a half straight, so I'm going to need to get a little bit of water. So I will be right back. My kitchen is two feet away. Give me 2 straight seconds. All right, we're back. Easy peasy. So, I got a little Carnegie Mellon glass here. Delicious, hydrates the throat. So that's how it functions. That's the value of it. And every single successful entrepreneur that I've ever talked to has used customer discovery appropriately, right? So let's go over how that functions and how you can get started as an individual, as a student, as whatever, and find value and create value, and then possibly like create a product and sell it. I'm going through customer discovery on a couple different little things right now. Here's another example, actually. So the reason I recently built on my live stream, I didn't stream it on LinkedIn, but I streamed it on Twitch. I built a internship platform a long time ago for startups in Pittsburgh. And the reason that I did that, I initially did it through a newsletter, and I did it through what did I do it through? I did it through MailChimp, and I did it through a little Wix website. It was just a simple little thing. Is my bed 2 feet to the other side, says Blitz. Yeah, no, essentially, I have a giant couch over there. I have a decent little apartment. It's not that bad. But it's funny that you say that. So anyway, where was I? I was just getting myself networked in Pittsburgh, right? I was going to all sorts of events and talking to all sorts of people and having a ton of fun and building my network, and it was great. I talked to a ton of startups at different events, or people building startup companies, or people building projects out of school, whatever it was. And because I was a student at the time, they all asked me, "Hey, can you find us interns?" And they kept asking me, like, "Do you know any interns? Do you know any people interested in internships? Like, do you know?" Like, everybody kept asking me for interns because I was a student. They assumed as a student I had tons of connections to other students that would want to work at their companies, right? And so I didn't know people that were interested. I didn't have a massive network of like 100 students that would just willingly sign up for internships. Oh, yes, I can. Thank you for talking about that, Andrew. I can quickly send you the Twitch link if you want to hop on Twitch. I respond a little bit easier to Twitch comments if you wanted to hop on there. I will give that to you right now. So hold on. Twitch, blah, blah, blah. It's this, but I'm going to post it in the comments really quick. Oh, hey, thank you, John. Oh, you're amazing. John got it for me. What a G. I didn't know you were watching, John. I hope you're doing wonderfully. But yeah, so another example, I like all these different startups in town would ask me like, "Do I know interns? Do I know interns? Do I have any students? Do I have student friends that might want to be interns with them? Do I know anybody that writes code that might want to?" Because Carnegie Mellon University is where I went, and they're notorious for having really, really intelligent developers. They train a lot of really intelligent developers. So I got asked that a ton, and to me, that sounded like product market fit. Like that sounded like a need, right? Not product market fit, but it sounded like a need. It sounded like a lot of startups in town needed interns. And so if that was something that I could solve, then that's a little company, right? Because that's like that validated my customer discovery. Everybody had a pain point that I could solve. So I went and I developed I just didn't develop anything. I just hooked up a little MailChimp to a Wix, and I can actually show it to you right now. It was yespgh.com. It's under development right now, but basically it's Young Entrepreneurs Society. I had a little Facebook group, I had a little meetup group, I did occasional little events. It was wonderful, and I basically just had a newsletter where I would talk to startups regularly, and I would send out internship postings that they asked for, right? And I would just send that out every week or two to different to as many like students as I possibly could, and via these internship postings, I was actually able to get like 3 interns settled into. I got like 3 students internships, and it was really, really great. It was a really fun little thing. But that was my first kind of bleed into it. And so I recently redeveloped it because I run a startup group in Pittsburgh, and I figured I would have a lot better access to startups. But regardless, that was how the customer discovery worked, right? Like people told me a problem, and I went and fixed it. That like if you can find a problem, you can go and fix it. That's how it all works. So those are 2 great examples. I've done it before. I'm not just kind of speaking out of my butt right now. But yeah, so the nice thing about customer discovery in general. So now that you know what customer discovery is, the nice thing about it is you get to actually talk to customers, right? So I'm going to write these down as we go because I want to be able to post this on my website and post it on LinkedIn afterwards for everybody to use, right? The benefits are you build a set of customers. Because everyone that you're talking to in a certain industry, even if they're not your customer yet, you're just asking them for advice and asking them what the problems they are that they're dealing with, you're still creating it for those customers, right? Like you're creating it for them. And so they're going to end up being your customers later. What does Andrew say? Funny how obvious must be time. Problem is most people aren't listening to the business clients or what they say. Exactly, yes. So there are very specific questions that you need to ask. Great point, Andrew. There are very specific questions that you need to ask when you interview potential customers. It's very important to be really cautious about that. So, and we're going to go over that. But it's really cool because as you're talking to these potential customers, you actually build a set of customers. Because if I go and talk to 50 people about problems with their email lists, and like 40 of them say they have problems with their email lists, I can sell directly to those 40 people once I build a product out. So you're doing sales as well. They're like you're doing long-term sales as you're doing kind of customer discovery. The negatives is it takes a ridiculous amount of time. Takes a lot of time because customer discovery is inherently tons and tons of interviews. And so if you it's interviews. It's going through interviews, and it's going through like an hour-long interview. Ideally, you want to do something like 50 to 100 interviews within one specific customer base, and before you really nail down a significant like problem, and you can solve a very specific problem. On my streams, I try to do like 3 to 5 customer interviews, which is not nearly enough, but I'm trying to make it a rapid process so that we can stream it, right? So that we can like make it we can make it rapid, so I can make it a little bit more entertaining, and we can try stuff. And even if I screw up, like we still learn a ton, right? So I'm in customer discovery right now, and I did customer discovery on thrift shops locally in Pittsburgh. I'm building out a product to help them advertise to local thrifters, and I may not have done enough research, but we're gonna run with it, right? And we're gonna see if that works. Anyway, I do very few. But you should be doing ideally 50 to 100 customer interviews around half an hour to an hour each. So that's a lot of time. That's really the only negative. And then I already talked about why startup ideas suck, because there's no discovery behind them. You can't tell. You have no idea what the customer wants. No idea what the customer wants. I can type. Wants, even if you are one of them. Coolness, awesomeness. So that's kind of the introduction on customer discovery, how it works. Let's puff up agenda, make it cute. I'll be making a PDF of this afterwards, just so we can have this as a case study, and I'll post it on my website, which I'm building out right now. It's not ready yet. It's going to be entrepreneur.blog. Very cute. I'm going to be blogging about cool stuff if you want to check it out at some point, but not right now because it's not up. But I'll be posting it there, and I'll post about it all over LinkedIn once I compile this as a useful resource for everybody, because I need this. Like, I always forget about questions when I go into customer interviews, so this is an important thing to build out. Now, I personally am a huge proponent of B2B, and B2B means business to business. So here, actually, let me span this out. B2B, so we can mark it all down. B2C and B2G, etc. So I'm a big proponent of B2B. Because business to business is essentially where, as a startup or as a company, I am selling to other businesses, right? My customers are other businesses. My customers are LASIK groups. My customers are dentists, like groups. My customers are like manufacturers of water bottles or Brita containers, whatever the heck it is, or tissue makers, whatever it is, like, right? It doesn't really matter. They're a business. My customer is a business. That's what B2B means, and that's what like we're going to be talking about mostly, because B2B makes the most sense when you're doing customer discovery. B2B is the easiest by far of any of the customer discovery sets. Like, it's by far the easiest, because businesses know what they want. That's plain and simple what it is. Businesses know exactly what they want. Hi, Diana. Oh my gosh. We actually haven't talked before, Diana. We should hop on a call sometime, because I always see your videos. I love all your dancing Diana videos, and you're so fun. For Australia, oh my gosh, you're so far away. Anyway, we're talking about customer discovery right now and how that functions when you're building new businesses. It's awesome that you hopped on. Anyway, B2B is usually the easiest because businesses know what they want. A consumer, a customer, an individual like myself, I don't know what the heck I want. Like, quite honestly, I don't know what the heck I want. I might want, like, when I'm walking through the store, when I'm walking through like Costco, I'm just pulling stuff off the shelf that I like. Yes, I'm pulling stuff off of my little like to-do list. Like, I need milk, I need eggs, whatever. But I'm also like, if I see tomato sauce that looks awesome, I'm gonna grab the tomato sauce, and that's just a whim. That's a whim decision, and most of our decisions are mostly whims. Like, it's not based on profit. It's not based on motivation. It's not based on like all these different little things. It's not based on like overall efficiency. Like, there are so many things that I could be doing with my day that I don't do. There are so many products that I could buy that would make my life more efficient. I don't buy them because it's inconvenient, or because like I don't want to use an extra thing, or I don't want to take the time, or blah 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 blah. But customers act differently than businesses, because businesses behave based on revenue, right? If you can make a business more money, why would they not take that, right? If you can make a customer more money, or you can say like, hey, I can make you more money as an individual, that's a really weird sell. Like, it totally depends on the individual, totally depends on their situation, totally depends on their industry, their business, what they're doing with their life, how much time they have, all sorts of different fun, weird stuff, right? But a business, you can just say, hey, I can make you more money, and they'll buy it. Like, if you can prove that you'll make them more money, why would they not want more money? That's how businesses work, right? They're motivated by minimizing costs, maximizing profit, and revenue, right? So, businesses are simpler to sell to. They're also easier to talk to, because it's much easier to figure out the problems that they're having. Because an individual like myself, I might just be like, oh, I'm tired all the time, or like, oh, like I don't really like my bed that much, or like oh geez, like it takes so long to get to work, right? Yeah, we got a worldwide audience here. This is really cool. We got Australia, we got Brazil. This is so cool. I appreciate everybody hopping on. Business also well-defined workflows. Exactly. No. So Blitz, just if you can see kind of up here, right around here, Blitz just said Biz also has well-defined workflows and they're more centralized. Exactly. You have a clearer target. You understand Blitz. Yeah. Like workflow in terms of everything. Like, it's. Oh, actually, I should add workflow down here. Good point. It's just easier to sell to businesses. Period. So, we're going to talk about the different customer sets when it comes to impulse. Oh, I'm going to see what Travis said. Impulse buy. Whole marketing strategy of flowering plants in most grocery stores. Extremely seasonal, focused on every single holiday at a price point. Interesting. At a price point for a target customer. I like it, Travis. That's a great point. Yeah. There are impulse buys. We could try to market that way, but typically candy. Yeah, exactly. Actually, the interesting way to phrase this is here we can. This is B2C especially. It's the vitamin. You've probably heard this before if you've studied entrepreneurship at all. Vitamin versus painkiller argument. And this is very general. I usually hate general conversation. I try to be like as informational as possible with all of my content, but this is a great example. But it is very general. So if you want more examples, let me know. Because I don't like how overdone the vitamin versus painkiller thing is, because it is so broad, right? It applies to everything. But basically, vitamin versus painkiller, especially like it has to do with consumers. People are going to pay. You want to solve a problem. You want to solve a problem and a pain point that people are constantly dealing with. Like if I go to a business, let's use business as the example because we're talking to B2B right now. If I go to a business and I say I can make you 5% more cash, right? I can improve your revenue by 5%, and let's use consumers actually. Never mind. I go to a consumer and I say, hey, what's wrong? And they say, my head hurts. I could say, here's a vitamin. If you take this vitamin for 20 days, and every day consistently, it tastes terrible. You can eat it with your food maybe, but if you take this vitamin for 20 days, you're going to feel better in the long term, right? Or I can say, here's a painkiller. It makes your headache go away right now. Everybody's going to choose the painkiller. Almost everybody's going to choose the painkiller because it solves the problem immediately. You want to find a pain point that people are just like, this is so frustrating. Like you want to talk to a customer ideally, and they complain to you the entire time about stuff that they're dealing with. And then you go and that's the ideal. That's exactly what you want, because you want to create a painkiller for that. You want to just solve it really quick. You want to solve the symptom. Because long-term stuff, B2B, it works really well. For like B2B typically buys vitamins, but a B2C will buy a painkiller because it's more about solving the immediate problem, right? So that's an example of how they differ. Anyway, getting started on B2B. Some questions that you want to. We'll talk about questions themselves. Yeah, no, exactly. Give me the pill right now. Yeah. Everybody will just want the pill. It's just how it works. So B2B likes more profit, less headache, in workflow, in efficiency. I could type efficiency, in stress, whatever. But all business problems. More profit, less cost. more profit / revenue, less cost, and then less headache and workflow efficiency and stress. Workflow. Boop. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, less headache and workflow efficiency, stress. But they're all business problems. A B2C is going to like vitamins versus a painkiller. They're going to want painkillers. They're going to want to solve their issue right now. But there are also plenty of pitches that you can make, like it's cheaper. Cheaper, looks cooler. Like it gets really, really messy because for consumers, they might buy something because it's cooler if they have that kind of money. That's where premium products come in. More data and more venues and less time. That's the stress. Yeah. No, that's fair. I'm not sure specifically what you're talking about there, Blitz. Blitz just said more data and more venues and less time. That's the stress. I generally more of anything, more to deal with in businesses is a stress point. It stresses people out. It bothers people. It's just it's a big pain in the ass. So no, but I get you saying. I agree. Cheaper, looks cooler. It gets really, really weird with B2C because it totally depends on the individual and what they're dealing with. But if you can generally save them time, save them money, or connect them with resources, then this is the general thing for B2C. It also applies for B2B. This should be kind of an overarching thing that we work with. This is the general rule that I've learned in school, that I've learned just talking to people, but it especially applies for B2C. If you save them time, save them money, or connect them with resources, that's where the value comes from. So, moving on. B2G is different. B2G is business to government. So a lot of startups that I know will actually sell to city governments, state governments, national governments, the military, whatever it is. There's a... Hi, Hank. There's a lot of weirdness when it comes to selling to governments. You have to talk to government officials, which are very hard to access. You have to, selling to governments is an extremely bureaucratic process just because generally they function very slowly. There's a lot of weirdness. The Supreme brand is pinnacle of B2C. Supreme is actually a great case study. So let's actually mark that. Thank you, Andrew. Let's mark that. Supreme, I don't think is the pinnacle of B2C. I know it's ridiculous. There's a huge lag on LinkedIn, Hank. For Supreme as a case study, they're really good at it, but it's not customer discovery that they did. It's just really good marketing. There's no difference in the brand, right? There's no difference in the product. It's just like a hoodie or a shoe. There's nothing fancy. It doesn't save time. It doesn't save money for sure. It's more expensive. It doesn't really do anything more for the individual besides looking cool, right? And there's a brand around it. You want to be a part of that brand. And so they did that through marketing. That is a totally different way. And first of all, you can't do that with businesses. You can never sell something like Supreme to businesses. And how would I know? How do you know that you can create a shoe that everybody's going to buy just because you market it really well? That takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of resources. It takes a lot of skill in marketing that I certainly don't know how to do. It's that you don't want to try to create a brand like Supreme. Because they didn't work via customer discovery. They worked via very, very, very clever marketing. No difference in product. The lag is not on Twitch. Usually the lag is on LinkedIn. I don't think it's on Twitch. That's my mom, by the way. That's Erica. If you check out Twitch and you check out LinkedIn, usually from what's actually happening, the Twitch is going to be a little bit ahead. It's going to be about 40 seconds ahead, because it's quicker there. Anyway, where was I? So there's no difference in the product with Supreme. No difference in product. It's just cool. More expensive without any benefit beyond being, cool. Hank saying hi to my mom. So yeah. So anyway, Supreme is a good example of something. Here goes the one billing me. Ha! That's funny. Oh, cool. Okay, cool. So we probably know each other or met some through some other wavelets. B2G, business to government, other things. There's also like B to there's a bunch of fancy little things like trying to think of other examples of business models. There's like platform, but I guess those are kind of B2C. There's a bunch of fancy different little things, so we can get into nuances of that if you want. But yes, great point, Andrew. Great point, Andrew. So what Andrew's point is, compliance and regulations with the B2G is huge. I was a nonprofit auditor for 6 years, and the amount of strings attached to government dollars is insane. Great freaking point. I probably shouldn't be cursing on here, but I want to. Don't freaking sass me, dude. I can't believe you're hanging out. What's up, Vivek? I think is that I can't remember. I can't tell from your little picture. Positioning B2C platform. Positioning in B2C is just generally really hard. It's all around marketing. All around marketing. Yes, it is, Vivek. Okay, cool. Hi, Vivek. I didn't know you. It's funny that you hopped on here. But Andrew made a good point. Let's get back to Andrew's point, which is compliance and regulations with government money and government products and government anything is ridiculous. Oodles of noodles. Yes, she did feed me tons of noodles. I actually had a ridiculous amount of pasta earlier today. That's why I have so much energy, because I'm literally full of carbs. And sushi. Yes, sushi. Actually, quick digression. This is off topic. I was talking to my girlfriend, and I think I told you this to you, Mom. Everybody that I've talked to, especially my girlfriend, hates carrot juice. Vivek. Everybody that I've talked to hates carrot juice. Nobody likes it. But apparently there's a study done that the only time, or one of the very, like, it's very rare for kids to like, there's a high correlation between kids liking carrot juice and the mom, while she was pregnant with the kid, drinking carrot juice. It's apparently like an acquired taste through pregnancy. It's really interesting. And so I love carrot juice, and because my mom, while she was pregnant with me, drank a ton of carrot juice. And everybody else that I know hates carrot juice because their parents didn't drink it while they were growing. So it's pretty funny. But yeah, so I love noodles because my mom ate a ton of sushi, and I'm sure a ton of pasta, and I'm full of carbs constantly. It's like literally all that's in my pantry. Complete digression. Anyway, back to Andrew's point. B2G is really hard. If you're doing a startup first, like if it's your first startup, you probably want to avoid B2G. So avoid if it's your first startup. It's just hard, man. It's really, really hard. They don't always know what they want. Obligatory girlfriend reference. They don't even always know what they want. They're hard to reach. They're really, really hard to reach. And because governments are really, really busy all the time, and they're also just unbelievably slow. So the sales cycle for selling something to a government organization or a government group or a government member is really, really, really long. And so it's hard to bootstrap that because you can't make any money really quick. Are we like just sassing me right now? See, thank you, Vivek. So anyway, avoid if it's your first startup. Long sales cycle. Hard to reach customers, and confusing incentive structures. Good. So that's what we know about B2G. Now, let's talk about a few different kind of points. There's a couple of different little industries. Second contract military. Yes, you need to avoid exactly. So Blitz just made a point. He's going through a deal with some government with a client, and it's you avoid as much of that as you can. Everybody avoids governments, so they're just really, really hard to work with. That said, they have a lot of money. Some of them. So like the military, for instance, if you're selling to the military, you can charge out the wazoo, because it's ridiculous. You can charge whatever you want. They'll buy it because they have tons of resources, right? So sometimes you want to sell to governments if you're building really cool tech that only applies there, but you generally want to avoid governments in general. The trauma is real. Okay, goddamn Vivek. Yeah, the trauma is real. Vivek has clearly experienced government selling, and it's a pain. It is a huge pain. So anyway, let's move on to a couple different industry focuses. So like I tried to please Vivek and Hank. They're working on companies right now. They're both entrepreneurs in Pittsburgh. If bidding is another huge thing that governments have to do. Good point, Andrew. Help me, Vivek and Hank, if you're still watching, like help me organize this, because this is kind of a really rough organization of how different industries customer discovery works with. I kind of segmented it into like entertainment, utilitarian, and then value. Right? So and this is for customers more specifically, right? So for consumers, entertainment is a thing. It's entertainment, and then like coolness also. Supreme is also another thing. Like Supreme is just coolness, so it gets really funky. But let's focus on these three. So entertainment, like a card game. If I'm selling a card game, that's mostly marketing. There are plenty of other card games that I could go with. There's hundreds, possibly probably thousands of card games that I could go with. But the reason that I would go with a card game is because it maybe specifically matches my set of my attention span or my sense of humor or whatever it is. So like it gets funky though, because like Netflix is entertainment. It doesn't provide any value. It actually wastes your time. But it's fun. Right? And how do you value fun? How do you figure out that people need more fun in a specific area? I don't know. I'm very biased towards B2B. I'm very biased towards selling to businesses. So I don't know. It's weird. But here, hold on. Whatever it is, if you ever use your time, here, while you're talking really quick, I gotta message somebody. Let me do something really quick. You guys can't see this, right? No, you're good. Yeah. Message. I gotta message somebody. Told them I would ping them about something. I forgot to. Quick digression. Okay, cool. Back to the stream. So. Hi, Ryan. Nice to see you here. So entertainment is funky, fun. It's like, how do you... Let's talk Facebook. I'm sorry. What did you say? What did Vivek say? Let's talk Facebook. Then I'm myself. You're so dramatic, Vivek. Oh my God. Are you getting enough sleep? You never get enough sleep. Exactly. I'm actually so Blitz just said I just kind of laid out the exact pivotal progression from B2C to B2B that everybody had to live through. Hank is always coming at us with the wild startup ideas, but generally for entertainment, how do you value fun? That's a really hard question. That's a really hard question. I don't know how to. And if I need to build out a B2C question set, and there's so many different industries that you have to go into, but like B2B makes the most sense. That's what I'm going to build out probably on this stream. That's all I have the resources to do, because I don't really know. Other than that, so utilitarian. If you're selling a bit to consumers, utilitarian is labeled as utilitarian because it's like an alarm clock. An alarm clock solves a problem, right? You keep waking up late, you have a problem. You're missing work, you're whatever. It's a problem in your life because you can't wake up on time. Gosh dang it, Vivek, you gotta get more sleep. Glad you had a sale. That's awesome. I want to hear all about it. Actually, I'm gonna be pinging everybody in the Mossgen group soon for some investor stuff, because I want to be able to help everybody get customers, investors, everything like that. We're gonna start being more public with Mossgen. I'll talk to you about it later. So I'm excited to hear about the sale. Anyway. Utilitarian, you're solving a problem. Solving a problem or pain that the consumer is having. Generally, you want to be... Ooh, this is great. What did Hank say? Experience, function, value. I like experience. Yes. Experience is a better way to phrase it. Thank you, Hank. Experience... I'm talking entertainment in relation to B2C. Entertainment doesn't really function in terms of B2B. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a startup, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I've ever seen a startup that entertains businesses, because it's not directly related to revenue, right? So, I don't know. Entertainment is experience. Yeah, exactly. So, let's enter entertainment. Utilitarian is function. And then we'll label down here utilitarian. Utilitarian. Cool. Selling based on function. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. I agree completely. So, but you're solving a pain point that the consumer is having. Like they have a frustration or an issue that they can't solve themselves, and you solve it for them, right? So, like an alarm clock. Their problem is they keep waking up late. The value part, I think, is a little bit different. They will all have different customers for discovery for sure. The value is a little bit different than I think what you're talking about, Hank. So value is where you help somebody make money or save time. Help someone make money or save time. Excuse me. Make money or save time. These are also different selling techniques for sure. I was in B2B land and couldn't wrap my head around entertainment and experience. Yeah, no, B2B doesn't really have any like entertainment and fun and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't. Well, okay, I disagree with myself. Why? What? How? Perhaps. Interesting point, Blitz. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna come back to that. In terms of entertainment in the B2B industry, it's actually kind of interesting. You can tie it to some things. So the only thing that I've seen it really get tied to is, let's say, frick heckin' bonding. So what was it? It wasn't. What was the company? What was the company? What was the company? It was bought by Amazon. It was like a sales company. Whatever. The only time that I've ever seen entertainment actually applied to businesses is like they wanted to do team bonding, right? Like everybody wanted to make sure that their employees were connected with each other and they were friends with each other, and that overall improves efficiency. Which is true. Like you want your team to work well. Like it was just kind of team management and culture management. But it ended up being like the product was like a high ropes course, and it was fun for everybody in B2B. Like it was fun for all of the employees, and they all bonded as a result of going through this course together. But beyond that, like I don't know. Isn't function value for the what does Zach say? Isn't function value for the underfocused problem space? I'm not so sure what you're saying, Zach. Could you rephrase that? Function is value, yes. Like the reason value is a bad way. Okay, so I see what you're saying, Zach. Value is a bad way to describe it. It's resources. So we help them make money or save time or get connected to resources. We're giving them something. We're giving them the opportunity to get something, right? So trust falls on a roller coaster. What a time that would be. But yeah, so I feel like these are the three ways that you can sell to consumers. It's a little weird. But yeah, so consumers is probably not where we're going to hit. If you're starting a first business, you want to talk to like businesses, it's just way easier that way. The nice thing about consumers is there are more of them, but everybody that I know that sell, like honestly, just like businesses are better. Honestly, they're just better. Unless you have a really, really cool consumer idea, you need to really know what you're talking about when it comes to marketing. You really need to know what you're talking about when it comes to sales. Everything is really, really harder in B2C, honestly. But yeah, also, thank you for that, Zach. That was a very, very good point. So let's get on to heckin' question sets. And I feel like we got like 40 minutes, half an hour. And if we have time, we'll go to B2B or B2C. But right now, I think we should focus on B2B. So B2B. Wow. B2B. Question sets. I'm just going to start listing things. So number one. The questions that I asked specifically to, I was doing, and again, investigation into thrift stores, thrift shops locally in Pittsburgh, and I was asking them, I honestly just like, the first question that you want to ask, let's actually go, yeah, here. The first question you want to ask always, you want to ask is for owner to lead you through the business process in its entirety and explain to you how every part of the business works. The business works. Boom. That's really important. Like when I was going, B2C is one kind of hard. B2B is another. What are you talking about, Vivek? It's a different kind of hard, but generally, like if you're doing your first startup, like the customer discovery, at least, yeah. All right, that's fair, Vivek. I have a very very strong bias to B2B. Neither is harder. If you want to go into B2C, you want to go into B2B. Both are equally as hard. B2G, selling to governments is a pain in the ass no matter what you do. But B2C, selling to consumers or selling to businesses, both probably equally as hard. I agree with Vivek there. I just have a personal bias because I don't know how to do B2C. So I'm of course like it sounds easier to me, right? Selling does suck. Bliss just says selling sucks. And he is right. I'm terrible at sales. I need to get better. I need to improve myself. So anyway, first thing you want to do when you talk to a business, just in general, then yeah, if you solve a problem, let's say selling sucks unless you solve a problem. If you're selling the problem, then the product should ideally sell itself, because like you don't have any, if you don't have any competitors and you're like the only one that everybody's ever heard of creating this awesome solution for this awesome thing, ideally you shouldn't have any issue at all. But yeah, so anyway, the first question that you usually need to ask is how the business actually works. Like when I first walked into the first thrift store, I was genuinely just like, where, like, lead me through literally everything. It was a small little shop, and he brought me out back. I can't remember his name. I think it was like David, but he brought me out back, and he showed me like where they get the shipments for donations. He showed me like where those shipments go and how they are sorted. He showed me like the actual operation that the employee does to sort the clothes. He showed me like everything all the way out to actually being sold at the register, like where they get the product, where they sell it at the register, where they manage all of that kind of stuff, right? Yeah, like I wanted to know every little thing, and I didn't even get to the bottom of everything, but it took me like an hour and a half. It was like, I think it was like a 2-hour meeting, and we just walked around the whole little store. It was a little store, but it still took like 2 hours for me to fully understand how a thrift shop works. And a thrift shop is a small little business. So the first question you probably are going to want to ask for the first few customer discovery like meetings that you do is that. You're going to say, I genuinely know nothing. Honestly, just say, here, I'm gonna give you a script right now. I genuinely know nothing about how your business functions. I would love it if you could lead me through your daily process. Not daily process. Lead me through the entire structure from getting or making the product to selling it. Boom. That's probably a great script right there. What does Vivek say? Max, the keyword is ideally. With B2B, you have to consider internal politics and other. That's a very good point. Yes, that's a good point. So there are their own kind of once you get deep into B2B, I'm talking about like basic B2B. I was trying to sell to barbershops. I was trying to sell to barbershops first. I was trying to sell to thrift shops. I'm still trying to build a product out for there. And now I'm just like your businesses, the businesses that I'm targeting are very small. But you do have to deal with politics for sure when you're talking to larger businesses. Like if I'm talking to an accounting firm and I'm trying to sell them some workflow software like David does, there's a lot of stuff that you have to manage. Like you need to make sure that people are getting along when they're using the software. You need to make sure that you're not taking away from management, that you're not taking away from current incentive structures. There's a lot of really, really fancy stuff that once you get deeper, but we're going to try to keep it basic to more basic businesses like kind of thrift shops. I'm going to use the thrift shop as an example because I did customer discovery there. So. Anyway, with B2B, what does Benjamin say? With B2B, there are discoverable power structures. There are, yes. So that kind of goes back to the culture that Vivek is talking about. Yeah, no, it gets really complicated if you get really, really deep into B2B, especially like enterprise sales. If you're doing enterprise and you're selling to like larger companies like a Walmart, like there's a lot you have to manage. Interesting. There's a thing called a Berger mapping that you can use model organized here. Actually has various kinds of power. Really? Berger mapping. That's really cool. I'm going to mark that down under B2B. Question. Can you use Bezier mapping? I'll put that in quotes. I always like doing these streams because everybody always comes, like, everybody shows me a lot of really, really cool things, and I end up learning a ton while I'm doing it, so. Anyway, so the first question they need to ask, highlight this in bold, is you want to ask them to lead you through the entire business process, and there, hopefully, that is a neat little thing. Second question. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. So once you understand the actual business structure, like how things work, how the product is made or sourced or got or grabbed or created or whatever the heck, or gifted or donated or whatever, or bought, most often it's bought, all the way to how it's sold, like the whole business process overall. Once you know that, then you can start asking deeper questions. And the deeper questions, just to get started, are what is your main source of revenue? What is your main source of revenue? It's probably the product they sell. Do you have, but then you can start asking, like, do you have alternative sources of revenue? What are your the biggest thing that you want to ask is, what are your biggest costs? Your biggest costs. Maybe list the top 3. When I was talking to thrift stores, the biggest cost that they had, Blitz said something. I was with a startup in Bellevue, B2B very good at making you run in too many directions. There's always a new pilot up. Oh, yes. No, yeah. There's a lot of messiness that you want to... So, you guys are all bringing up a good point. B2B is just as hard as B2C. That's why B2C exists. They're just as hard in different ways, though. So, you have to run into kind of different problems. And I'm going to try to lay that out. Actually, you know what? Yeah, you're all bringing up really, really good points. Let me make sure that I list all of this down. So, problems. The problems with B2B is internal politics, long sales cycle. Let's see. Possible education around your product. Harder to reach customers. Harder to reach customers. What was Vivek saying? Internal politics. Very, very good points. Let's see. What else were we talking about? Power structures. Yeah. So internal politics slash power structures. Structures. Cool. So these are all good points. If you have any other problems or issues with B2B or B2C, I'm going to riff on B2C. I've riffed plenty on B2C. Oh, wait, I put this under B2C. Dang it. Problems is going to go over in B2B. B2C problems. Are going to be, what were we saying before about problems? How much was I riffing on? Consumers. What does solving this problem enable you to do? That's a good, yeah, so actually that relates back to resources, right? Oh no, what are you saying, Zach? Solving this problem enabled me to do? Which problem? Let me know. Oh, like the problems with B2B, B2C. These are problems in the sense of, like, solving these problems, like, gets you more sales. Like, it actually grows your company. Like, you're not going to be able to get, you're not going to be able to sell your company if you can't get past the long, you're not going to be able to sell your product unless you can get past the long sales cycle for B2B. You're not going to be able to sell your product at all if people don't know what it means, or what it does and how it helps. So there's education around the product. There's harder to reach customers, right? LinkedIn has absolutely made it easier to reach B2B, Andrew. By both a concentrated audience for content and access to executive. I agree, yes. I use B2B, I use LinkedIn for everything, dude. Like, it's, I love LinkedIn. It's such a fun platform to use. It's awesome. It's a great, great time. So anyway, these are the problems with B2B. Problems with B2C is marketing is expensive. Marketing is expensive. Hard to nail down real consumer problems, especially if you're not value driven. Not a value driven product. It was interesting. I talked to. This is an example of entertainment. I talked to an entrepreneur in town named what was his name? What's his name? Jesse Shell. It's awesome right now. Yeah. No, I think LinkedIn is like the perfect place to get in. Everybody should be on LinkedIn. B2C needs to be a gaming angle. Sometimes. So actually, I'm kind of getting into that. This is interesting. There's it's funny that you mentioned that because this is exactly what I was about to talk about. I talked to an entrepreneur in town about I feel like it was about a year ago. Yeah, it was probably a little bit less than a year ago, or 9 months ago. I went to a open house for one of the the largest gaming company in town. It's run by a guy that works at CMU. He's a brilliant game dev. He started this massive company. This thing has 50 employees. He's really kicking butt, and basically he makes games. It's called Shell Games. SCHELL. Awesome guy, Jesse Shell. Really cool dude. And I asked him, and he was really happy that I asked this because apparently nobody asked these kind of questions. Because I was asking really deep kind of customer discovery kind of stuff. I was like, in most typical entrepreneurship, right? In B2B, when you're selling to businesses, when you're selling to consumers or whatever, you're trying to create a value, right? You're trying to create value and you're trying to bring somebody resources or create something valuable for somebody else. And that's why they buy it, because it helps them with something, right? It's you're solving a problem. And so a video game doesn't solve a problem. Right? So how do you know a video game is going to succeed? You don't. You quite literally don't. It's in the entertainment industry, and the entire entertainment industry doesn't solve a problem. It solves boredom, right? That's what I asked him. And he said, the way that he phrases it in kind of an entrepreneurship structure, when he makes video games, the problem that he's solving is people want a certain experience. It's not necessarily a problem. Entertainment never solves really a problem. It doesn't the only problem it would be was boredom, but there's literally millions, billions of ways to solve boredom. He says that he's providing an experience that he's noticed in the market people want to have. So it takes a lot of market research and it takes a lot of assessing what people complain about with different video games. But you're not solving a problem. You're not solving a pain point. You are creating an experience that people haven't had yet. You're creating a unique experience through that video game, right? A unique feeling, a unique emotion, a unique whatever. That's what entertainment is about. So if you're creating an entertainment product, you're creating a unique experience, and you have to measure how much people want that experience before you make it. It's really weird. It's really tough to kind of pay attention to and nailed down in a significant way. So it's quite often it's just there are millions of video games out there, and that's the reason, because there aren't millions of different versions of buckets. There's probably 1,000 buckets, because the bucket solves a problem, and you don't need you know what I mean. You don't need more. You don't need more buckets, but you need more video games, because video games it's a hit or miss. It's so hard to predict how well a video game is going to do, and it mostly has to do with marketing. A lot of it has to do with marketing, is my wager. So anyway, we're off topic. Hard to nail down real consumer problems, especially if you're not a value-driven product. I found the jobs to be done model useful here as well. What is that, Benjamin? Explain that a little bit more. The jobs to be done. Everything has a job. And sorry, there is a bit of a lag, but everything has a job. Explain what you mean by a job. I'm assuming that you're getting to explaining it, but let's talk about that too. Anyway, let's get back to the questions. So, what is your main source of revenue? What are your biggest costs? The biggest cost is the biggest thing. It's really awesome. The next thing is, what takes the most time for you as the owner each week running the business? We can assume that we're talking about running the business. Clayton Christensen. Heard that. Everything has a job. I'll look that up later, I think. Thank you for that. Jobs to be done. Interesting. I'll look into that, Benjamin. So, what takes the most time for you as the owner each week? I I appreciate you pinging me on different things like this. I appreciate feedback. It's also always nice to have people like you, Benjamin, in the chat. It's really fun. Ooh, very good point, Blitz. What happens when the customer is upset? Ugh, that's what is that? What is that? That's because I can guarantee it's your best option to do something good. No, yeah, that gets into a little bit deeper. That gets into it's not customer feedback. Make a diff for your biz. I like that. What is it? It's customer service. It's customer service. That gets to customer service. So if your customers are pissed off, that gets like deeper into customer service. I don't really know how all that functions. That kind of scales out once you grow a little bit more, because usually you just kind of deal with customer problems on basis. Yeah, exactly. Reputation management. Yeah, exactly. That gets a little bit bigger. Like that comes when you're a little bit bigger, right? You don't start with a customer service rep when you're like two people big, right? So I'm trying to focus on like the beginning stages of entrepreneurship. Anyway, so what takes the most time for you as the owner each week? So again, we're trying to save time, we're trying to minimize costs or improve profit, right? Main source of revenue / profits, but they're essentially the same thing. What takes the most time for you as the owner each week? And then what takes time for we can copy paste this because this applies to a lot of other things. What takes the most time for your employees each week? That's the next question you need to ask. For later, explaining the job of a McDonald's milkshake. Ooh, I've heard about that, Benjamin. I've heard about that one. Yes, explaining the job. So, like, that's a great example, Benjamin. So, if anybody's curious, look up what Benjamin is talking about. That's another great case study on consumer products and what problem or job the product does. Great point, Benjamin. Awesome. Video games, the movies, the 19 movies of the 60s and 70s, or TV of the 70s and 80s of the future is one of them. Yeah, no. Video games, esports, video games, everything is taking off right now. It's huge. That's why I try to be on Twitch. I know I'm not like gaming. I may actually try to game and also include business education. That would be really funny. I might like play Minecraft with. Actually, I was thinking about this. Tell me what you guys think about this. This is kind of cool because I have a decent audience right now. So I want to. This is kind of like a podcast, right? This is this is a live stream. I do it every week. I'm probably going to start doing it 2 or 3 times a week, probably twice a week. I'm going to choose like a weekday, and I'm going to do a little survey on what people are most comfortable with. But I want to do it twice a week, where I talk about this kind of stuff. And this is just a kind of a test for LinkedIn because we kept it broad. But I build businesses live here. Like I go out and I talk to businesses. Like we'll sit down on one live stream, and we will go over different businesses that I like. And we'll say, like, this business might have this problem. This business might have this problem. We have no freaking clue, but let's just make assumptions right now and come up with ideas that we think might be cool. Then I will go and talk to those businesses while I'm not on live stream. Like, in my normal life, I will go and I will talk to those businesses, and I will ask them all sorts of problems that we're asking now. I have done this with thrift shops. I did thrift shops live on Entrepreneur, on the stream. I did it on Twitch, but now I have LinkedIn Live. I'm going to be doing it on LinkedIn too. I went out and I talked to those businesses specifically after the live stream. And I think I talked to 3 or 4 thrift shops in town, and I asked them these questions. And I figured out that all of them have problems like coming up, like getting more customers. They don't do any marketing, and they don't know how to do marketing. And I can't individually charge them for marketing, so I'm going to create a universal, a more universal, or at least like citywide resource for thrift shops to market to thrift interested people. I did that all live. Like I showed exactly how it worked and the tools that I'm going to tie together. I didn't code anything. I just built it all via existing tools. I used Google Sheets, I think. I used Slack, and I used Launchpass, which is just kind of a little group, and then a little landing page. And that's essentially it. I'm just going to create an online community for people that want to get in touch with thrift stores, and I'm going to charge access to that community. And that's the business. I'm building that right now. That's one of my things. But I did that all live on my live streams to show everybody exactly how that kind of stuff works. Even if I screw up, we're going to learn a ton about thrift shops and about creating online communities, right? So what was I going to say? I got a little bit distracted. I want to bring, I remember what it is. I want to bring people on here, right? I want to make this more like a podcast, so I'm not the only one talking. I'm not the only one kind of preaching whatever it is that I think, because I have biases. I'm not always right about things. I'm a beginner entrepreneur, to be completely honest. I'm called the entrepreneur, for God's sake. But I want to bring people on here. I want to bring other entrepreneurs, probably from my network in town, to have them come on the stream, and for like 2 hours, hour and a half, maybe 3 hours, we do hackathons. We do little mini hackathons where I will build something with another entrepreneur. Like, we will come up with an idea, we'll do customer discovery, and we'll try to build something, test it, and put it out into the market, right? I like that kind of content does not exist anywhere, and that's the exact kind of stuff that I want to do because it's the most educational possible. Because my goal is to literally do a live stream, have it recorded, and put it up on YouTube. This will be up on YouTube at some point afterwards, by the way, because I'm recording it via Streamlabs. And like, you can pull it up on YouTube, or you can pull it up while I'm doing it, and you can pull up Google Chrome and then literally copy exactly what I'm doing and create your own business. Like, I want it to be the most conducive thing possible, and I want to be completely transparent about every single operation that comes into building a little business. Even if you lose money on it, like, you still learn from that, right? The goal, of course, is not to lose money on it. But that's what we do on Entrepreneur. That is the entire Entrepreneur stream. And so if you have people, or you know people, or you have entrepreneurs, I'm so glad you like it, Andrew. I love it too. Like, there's nothing out there like that, and I really want to try to pioneer that kind of thing. And I want to be more active in entrepreneurial education and try to I want to talk to schools. There's a lot of stuff that I want to do around this kind of thing. What are we all talking about? I'll chat sometime. We will help you see mechanical ideas of how. Easy to start. What are we talking about? Content. What did Andrew say? I've been mulling over putting out content geared towards a sole proprietor accounting structure for someone in the YT. Streamer energy, breaking down how to. Job cost revenue streams. I like that. That's actually really cool, Andrew. That's actually that's an interesting kind of topic. It would be interesting to target. I wonder which platform that would be on. You would probably do it on Twitch, right? You would probably try to talk about that kind of stuff on Twitch because it's educational. It's just really hard for people like us, if we're on Twitch, to do things that aren't video games. So, but regardless, I want to bring entrepreneurs on. If you know entrepreneurs that might want to be interested in building things with me, like they're building products, like product startups, like real tech startups, I would love to bring them on, and we'll do live streams exactly like this format. I'll just host them on a Zoom call or something, and we can just get started from there. Honestly, that's, yeah, exactly. I'm really glad you like it, Benjamin. But that's what we're gonna be doing. So, yeah, it's cool. But if you know any entrepreneurs or anybody that you think would be a good fit for this kind of thing, I'm going to start bringing on guests at some point. Probably start with my Pittsburgh group, because I can bring them here physically into my house, and we can work on it on camera together, and I'll get them another headset. Yeah, it'll be really cool. And I'm going to start bringing on guests. We're going to start bringing things live. I'm also going to start hosting probably at some point, maybe in 3 months or so, large hackathons, online hackathons for other people like yourself to get on the system with me. I'll live stream everything for probably 12 hours straight, and I won't talk the whole time, but YouTube is the content. YouTube would be good. It's just really hard to build audiences on YouTube. Text me about that. Shoot me a message, Andrew. We can talk about YouTube. YouTube is really hard to build an audience on because it's so saturated. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm going to do hackathons online. I'm going to bring people in, try to build something with them. I'm going to do conversations, probably not interviews. I don't like interviews unless they're highly informational, but I really like hands-on kind of stuff. So if there's any businesses, any startup ideas you want me to try, anything like that, would love to hear it. But yeah. Getting back to the actual content and stopping and not continuing to preach about my frickin' content. Let's get back to the questions. So, what is your main source of revenue or profit? What are your biggest costs? What takes the most time for you as the owner each week? What takes the most time for your employees? Cool. What else? What else do we want to know? I made a little list up here. Questions: it's revenue, costs, current tools. Current tools is a great one. So, what are you doing in terms, what tools, what operations and tools are you using in terms of? And then this gets into marketing. This gets into sales. This gets into hiring/firing. This gets into workflow. This gets into, let's say, what else? There's a couple other things. Customer service. And you can kind of lean on these. I'm just trying to list all the different operations in a business. Here, let's look them up. Different operations in a business. Excuse me. What are the business operations of a company? Tenfold. I hope they just give me a big list. Let's see. Accounting. So, money management. Product creation. And then this kind of goes into what is it? This goes into your what's it called? It's like where the product comes from, right? It's not the product pipeline. It's the product it's what is it called? What is it heckin' called? Heck. So money management is important. Product creation. It's the supply chain. Sorry. Oh my gosh. Supply chain is huge. So usually there are a lot of problems in supply chain. Workflow. Let's say, what other operations are there in a business? There are. That's probably good. The supply chain is pretty important. Supply chain actually has to do with a lot of different things. Like if people can source things cheaper from different places, you can make the supply chain more efficient. If there's anything that you can do kind of in that stage, it's awesome. Actually, a really cool story on supply chains. Another guy, another story from David Cristella, one of my mentors. He told me the LASIK business story, but he also told me another one where a friend of his basically went and grabbed. He was talking to, I think, a train company, a shipping company, and they use trains. And he learned all like the different things that ship, whatever. He learned that there was a train that was usually not, or no, there was a train that was going and it wasn't full, right? There was a train that like just didn't, like half of the train was full, like half of it was full of coal, and the other half was just empty, and there's nothing in it, and it was just a like wasted space. But they could totally transport more there, and so he basically talked to I think a shipper for logs, like or maybe it was another coal producer or whatever. But they wanted to ship coal, and it was nearby, and he figured out they were kind of along that track of this train, and he just connected the two dots essentially. He told the coal producer, he's like, "Hey, I can ship your thing up here for this price," and then he said. Or he asked like how much it would cost, the train conductor or the train shipper, how much it would cost to ship this much stuff. And then he went back to the coal producer and he says, I'll ship this stuff for you for 10 cents per pound extra on top of what of what the train charges, right? I explained that really poorly, but he essentially just connected the two dots. He found a shipment group that had extra space, and he found a producer that wanted to ship, and he literally just charged extra on top of that and took off the top. And that was his bit. Like he just made money off of that business. Like if you can find any problem, any little holes in different things, all of it comes down to customer discovery. All it comes down to is talking to customers that have individual problems and see like just where anything can happen. If you can connect any dots for anybody and take anything off the top, there's so many different like ways to make businesses. There's so many different ways. It's unbelievable. And yeah, all of it starts with customer discovery. So I got off on a little rant. I get really passionate about these rants, but anyway. So what operations and tools are you using in terms of this? Actually, let's separate this. So let's separate this. What tools are you using for simplified as much as possible? And then what are your current efforts in? And then we'll copy paste this. So you want to first ask what the current efforts are in. Oh shoot! This is Restream, by the way. This is how I'm streaming to LinkedIn and to Twitch. Restream.io, really cool service. But yeah, so what are your current efforts in marketing? Blah blah blah. What tools are you using for each of the above operations? And then we'll just delete all of these because I don't want to jam this up with a bunch of BS. Okay, cool. What else? Amazon did steal that on a large scale. Amazon stole supply chain generally. Like they're a really general purpose thing. Blitz on Twitch just said that freaking Amazon stole a lot of supply chain stuff, and it's true, they did. Like anybody that was doing shipment before, anybody that was trying to do product fulfillment or anything like that, Amazon just took it all over, which is really, really amazing. And they need to get shut down. Call Jeff Bezos. Tell him I said that. Let's start some beef with Jeff Bezos. So what else? Let's see. So we know revenue and profit. We have costs. We have what takes the most time. And then you can just straight up ask, what is the most annoying thing you have to deal with daily as a business owner? That'll get you really, really good answers. That'll get you really interesting answers. Like honestly, you want to just, what is the most annoying or painful thing you have to deal with daily as a business owner? That's a great question. That'll get you a great start. Really? Oh yeah, I guess that's a good point. Amazon had no profit for a while, and I guess with scale, they. Interesting. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's super illegal to do price dumping, but whatever. Blitz was just talking about Amazon and said they did price dumping, which I think is true. I'm not sure. I don't have to look that up. Yes, you do need to lead up to that question. I agree. So this is one of the later questions. What about asking about outsourced, contracted, automated? Ooh, that's a really good point, Andrew. That's a really, really good point. I like that. So under tools, what processes do you actually? So really, really cool thing. How much do you pay for each? Uber's left model is to monetize the massive underutilization of private autos. Yeah, that's a very good point. I think they also solved an issue in terms of like when you're out and you're drunk, you can't get home, right? Like you have to call a taxi. Like taxis were the only real thing, but the taxi service, like that like on demand anywhere transportation wasn't available in most cities. So they also solved a really, really big problem there. But in terms of resources, they solved a huge problem in terms of underutilization for sure. Uber's it's a genius business model. It does very well. I mean, Lyft is. Uber's kind of sucking ass right now. They don't really know what they're doing. Lyft is taking over. Anyway, back to what Andrew was saying. I liked it a lot. So what do they outsource? What do they contract? What do they automate? But before that, how much do you pay for each tool? That is a really, really good thing, and that's important in terms of pricing. So if you create a tool that outdoes another tool, you need to know how that tool is priced and what they're willing to pay for that kind of service, right? Because more often than not, like I have no idea how to price things in the beginning. I honestly have no freaking clue. Like I'm just making guesses. I made a post about it and I made a fool of myself because I was like, I'm going to price it based on how I feel, which is stupid. Like you need to price based on like what you're solving and like what value you're giving. The only way to really do that is to look at either how much money you're saving them, how much money you're making them, or what other people are charging. So it's a great place. So you want to ask how much do you pay for each tool. And then what Andrew said, do you outsource or contract or automate any business processes? Honestly, no. This should be its own question. Do you outsource, contract, or automate any business processes? Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Cool. That sounds great. Okay, cool. What else? What's the most annoying or painful thing you have to deal with daily as a business owner? Yeah, these are the general questions, honestly. I feel like this is this is basically the set of questions that you start with. From here, I'm trying to think where it gets deeper. Like, these are great lead-in questions, right? So, like, when I ask somebody the most annoying or painful thing, here, biggest lead-in question. You want to dive deep on this, and I want to kind of go over how that works. So the most annoying or painful thing, can I actually not do? Yeah, cool, awesome. what was I going to say? I got distracted. These are all leading questions. So, what are your current? I'm going to ask a business owner. I'm going to say, what are your current efforts in marketing? And they say, oh, we do a little bit of Instagram. We have an Instagram account. We post there occasionally. That's something I got a lot from thrift stores. And I'm like, okay, so how long have you been doing that? Like, do you create any revenue from that? Like what do you post on there? How often do you post on there? Are you active with anything? Do you run ads on social media? Like, what do you use that Instagram for specifically? Like, these are all leading questions. You want to go really, really deep as much as you can and learn about every single aspect of these. Like, ideally, this is only what, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Realistically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 main questions. Well, no, probably let's say like 15 if we're counting every little thing. 15 main questions. That's not going to take you an hour. But ideally, like, this conversation should be like an hour, hour and a half, because you're going to be diving really, really deep on each of these little things, right? So I'll give you an example. I'm going to ask somebody what the most annoying or painful thing they have to deal with daily as a business owner. I asked somebody at thrift stores this, right? They said the biggest thing that I have to deal with is volunteers. They don't have enough volunteers. They can't source volunteers. They don't really know how to do that. I was thinking of creating a solution to that. I couldn't kind of come up with one, and it seemed like their bigger problem, or one of their bigger problems, was customers, and so that's why I'm going with customers. But one of their big problems, one of the most annoying things, was, at least gave me good ideas, was that they couldn't source employees correctly. Like, most of them are nonprofit thrift stores, and they couldn't source volunteers correctly usually. And they didn't have enough volunteers, and it was hard to work the stores, and they had weird hours as a result. But it was hard to source volunteers. It was hard to find all those volunteers. So I asked further on that. I asked, like, okay, where do you normally source volunteers from? Where do your volunteers come from, like, currently? What program do you use, or how do you manage who's coming in when? How do you find new volunteers when you? Yeah, no, it's true. Sourcing volunteers is hard. Says Blitz. Yeah, Blitz was asking, like, sourcing volunteers, really? It's true. That's what they said. That's one of the big things. A lot of them had trouble with volunteers. Some of them had too many, some of them had too little, but a lot of them had too little. So anyway, but I asked further. I asked, like, okay, you have problems with volunteers. Why? Like, what are the big issues there? Why did you, how do you currently source volunteers? Why is that a pain in the butt? Like, how do you, like, find volunteers when you don't have enough? What organizations and why do they give you volunteers? Like, you ask, like, all as deep as you possibly can into these questions. These are all starter questions that you ask as deep as you possibly can into every single one of these. And by the end of it, like, if you have a 2-hour conversation and you learn a ton about the business, like, that's what you should be doing. It takes a lot of time, but you want to lead into these different kinds of things. I want to do case studies on this because I feel like it's hard to. I can't give you examples of lead-in questions. I can't do lead-in questions because it totally depends on the situation, right? But I can give examples. So here, let's write down here. I need to write an example or two on how follow-up questions might look in different scenarios. So I'll do that too. When I'm building this out, I'm going to make a nice, like, couple of PDFs, and I'm going to build it out. It's going to look all cute. But yeah, that's what we're going to do. Because I want to be able to make this as educational as possible, and I want to. The only way that I'm going to do that is through examples. So we're almost done. What does Andrew say? My thought on that question is twofold. It's fold. One, might be opportunity to add value and recommend outsourced automation services at the same time and money. Trying to gauge the accuracy of the underlying info of the business. If accounting is being done by SEO's way. Yeah, exactly. Very, very good point. Very, very good point, Andrew. So, like, I like that question a lot. I think, like, do you outsource, contract, or automate any business processes? That's a great thing because it gives you an example. Blitz, I'm going to get to you in a second. With volunteer work, like, it's very, very, it's a great example. Like, that's a tool. Honestly, outsourcing, contracting, or automating has to do with a tool. Like, they are outsourcing through some tool. They are using somebody else as a tool to get work done. Whatever it is, like, that is a tool, and that makes, like, that's a great question to ask, because it has to do with tools. So, awesome question. I really like that you did that, Andrew. I appreciate you pinging me on that. Blitz just says, my daughter is 15. I'm fearful that your generation in the U.S. will be doing a lot of volunteer work. Why are you fearful? Why is that a problem? I think it's a wonderful experience. I think it's educational. It looks nice on a resume, kind of. It's phasing out as a resume booster, because colleges are getting a little bit more desperate. But well, the colleges aren't getting more desperate. Students are getting a bit more desperate. It just gets really weird. The whole education system sucks right now. Oh my god. I'm literally the purpose of Entrepreneur, this whole stream series and everything like this. I want this to become a more like national thing, a more global thing. Like I want to be able to have an impact to some degree on educational curriculum, on like how people learning, everybody is learning entrepreneurship, because there isn't really any resources out there right now. Why do you have a problem, Blitz? You should totally shoot me a message on LinkedIn. We can discuss that. I don't think volunteer work is bad, but I think it's nice. I think it can be nice, but universities suck. Universities suck right now. It's terrible. Terrible little situation. The prices are going up. They're gouging students. Donations are getting really, really harder for them. Their business model right now is essentially just like, we will find smart people and push them out, and then use the reputation of what we do to get them jobs, and that is it. And they don't do anything. Like, career services at most universities suck. Like, they don't help you get a job. They don't help you do anything. They just it's just relying on the intelligence of the people that they bring in based on standardized tests. That's literally the whole business model. It's ridiculous. There's so many problems with education. I could talk about that for literally hours. We need more professors in general with actual experience and industry expertise. We need to bring in people that, volunteer professors. That's how it would be. We need people to come in and speak and actually teach on real business processes, how it's working in current industry right now. And there's, especially when it comes to, oh my gosh, hi Erica. Why are you blue? You look so cool. You have a fancy, because you tagged me. Hi man, I miss you too, Erica. Aw. Let's change the education. Heck yeah, Erica's on this with me. Erica's awesome, by the way. Erica's a super streamer. She's super cool. She has a great Instagram. She's a fire dancer. She's also an awesome educator when it comes to math and just general education. You should totally go check Erica out. She's super cool. We should catch up, by the way. Let's hop on a FaceTime at some point. But yeah, coolness. So I am done. That's most things that I wanted to talk about. I'm going to be assembling this into a PDF. I'm going to try to get some examples out. I'm going to try to make this like a real thing. But yeah, that's the goal. I'm going to be posting it on my website. I'll be posting it on LinkedIn. If you want me to tag you when I'm done and post it on LinkedIn, I can. Happy to. Just drop a comment or shoot me a message individually, right? I'd love to help add value. What did you say, Andrew? I would love to help add value from an accountant financial angle if you ever need it. So building my content towards, because there's no small business accounting finance playbook. Very, very true, Andrew. I would love to hit you up. I'm currently doing freelance stuff right now, and it's a little odd. Yeah, the hackathon would be super cool. So Bliss just says, I look forward to the hackathon. Hackathons would be awesome. That's something that I actually want to do like more long term. And I would probably do it. I wouldn't do it on LinkedIn. I might stream temporarily on LinkedIn for like periods of it. But I would have to contact LinkedIn if I could do like a 12-hour live session. But I would probably do it mostly on Twitch. And so we would just assemble a bunch of people on Twitch, and we would have everybody else like video in. We'd have people talk, like people try to build their own hackathons. It would be a big online hackathon, and we would just try to make it really cool for everybody and help everybody else build their businesses, right? That would be the goal. So that'd be cool. It'd be a cool thing to try. But yeah, if you have any questions on anything, on any of this, if you want to add anything, add it. Like, hit me now. I'm gonna wait like 3 minutes and kind of kill some time, because I want to make sure that we get everybody's input, everybody's input, everybody's thoughts on this. But yeah, other than that, I'm done with all the content that I had planned. Taylor, yes, Taylor, a hackathon would be dope. Like, you should come over to my house when we do it. Like if I do like a larger hackathon, like a larger, highly marketed online hackathon, first of all, you should help me market it. Taylor's an awesome marketing dude. If you need marketing services, he's super dope. You should hit him up. But he's creating an agency right now and he's kicking butt. But I would love to do an online hackathon, like a really large, like with like. Thank you. Blitz says I've been awesome at content switching and making it alive. I try really hard. So I've done this for like a couple months now. And I'm not too bad at it because I've had a lot of practice, and I've been doing it mostly on Twitch. But now LinkedIn is out. Yay! Thank you too, Andrew, my food. I think you meant to say friend. Oh, dude. I meant to say dude. Thanks to you too, my dude. This is awesome. But yeah, cool. So I'm going to be doing this every Saturday, almost every Saturday, 6:30 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, same time slot as right now. And we'll be building businesses. We'll be talking about customer discovery. This is a very general set, but we'll be like either creating resources that you can use individually. We will be like building things that you can take home. We'll be talking about like examples, like really specific examples. We'll be interviewing people or building things with people, or we'll just be whatever, but like most of it is going to be building. It's going to be building and real like actual conversation about how to build a product, how to sell something. Like I want to like build little businesses live. It would be awesome for me because I get to build little businesses, but the goal is literally to show you every little piece of thing that I'm doing when I'm building a business, right? And just build a ton of little businesses and show everything about how each of them work, so everybody else can get into entrepreneurship and build their own little businesses, and we can create some sort of like an online community of other people kicking butt with this kind of stuff, right? Like our own little online incubator. But yeah, so that's the goal. Anybody has any questions, hit me up. It seems like everybody's good with questions. We have 4 people live on Twitch. Just watching on Twitch. We had 5 people a second ago. I think we had like 25 people at one point on LinkedIn. Now we have about 9, 10. But that was definitely my best audience. I'm really glad that I got LinkedIn Live because now I can do this here instead of just on Twitch. But I'll still be doing it on Twitch because I really like the streaming setup on Twitch. So I'll be doing the same. This is probably the same format that I'll be doing for all my streams in the future, and I would love to see you at future ones. Let me know if you have any ideas or anything that you want me to do. I appreciate you all coming. So, shoot me a message if you want to talk about anything in the future, if you want me to add things to future streams, whatever, like I said. But other than that, I'm done. I'm going to hop off. I'm going to go eat some heckin' food. I'm going to go do a little bit of work. I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to build my website out some more. It's going to be a good night. It's going to be a heckin' good night, my dudes. Awesomeness. I appreciate y'all hopping on. You're really cool. All right, cool. Doesn't seem like there's any more questions. I will see you all later. I hope you have a wonderful night. You're all beautiful people. I really appreciate it. Like Andrew and everybody, like you all stuck with me this whole time. It was an hour and a half. It's pretty long. I really appreciate all of you. Jerry, everyone left biggest issues that they don't own their cost centers. What's Jerry saying? Don't own their cost centers. Interesting. Didn't know that about that. Thank you, Benjamin. I appreciate you. It's an interesting point, Jerry. I didn't know that. There's a lot of problems with that whole business model right now. But yeah, cool. I'm going to head out. I'll see y'all later. I appreciate you hopping on, and I hope to see you on the next stream. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.